I know we don't have a quorum, but in the interest of time, because we have members, those that are on time, I like that. Thank you very much for being here on time. I should start taking attendance. Remember the movie that Jack Black was in, School of Rock? Dr. Mann, did you ever see that movie, School of Rock? They had a whatever, the person that knew the rules of the classroom and would take attendance. Anyway, I can't even remember what that person's name is. But members, we have 4 bills up today in front of us, and in the interest of time, we want to make sure the first one is Senate File 3973, Senator Mann, in your sober home requirements modification. Testifiers, I'm going to keep you to 2 minutes. And so if you've never learned how to structure your conversation down to 2 minutes, I would appreciate that, just because we're going to get into a pretty in-depth conversation in the home and community-based standards, foster care licensing, and then which are 2 Utke bills, Senator Utke, and then Senator Abeler's last bill is the permission of personal care extended services. So it's going to be a pretty in-depth conversation, and I just want to make sure people that are testifying across the board, can we keep it to 2 minutes? I would really appreciate that. I just said twice. Don't put ums in your paper. You want to just make sure you know what you're talking about. Senator Mann, we do not have a quorum, but we can go ahead and Senator Matthews is here. We do have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have a quorum. Let it be known. Yay. Senator Mann, talk about Senate File 3973.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 3973 is a bill that would do 2 things. One, it asks to have, for sober homes to have their naloxone in a conspicuous place so that it is easy to find in the event of an emergency. As we know, the naloxone is a life-saving medication used in the event of an opioid overdose. And this bill will also allow sober home residents to have their prescription substance use disorder and mental health medications with them. Right now, there are sober homes that do not allow any form of medications of the such in the building, and so people cannot have the treatment that they need. And we know that now substance use disorder medications are the standard of care. So that's really about it. Mr. Chair, I have some testifiers with me today.
You do? You want to bring up
Mr. Chair?
Senator Abeler?
Maybe there'll be a little less testimony if we have an amendment. I worked with Senator Mann, and I just want to make sure I got the right amendment. So, Mr. Chair, on line 2.6, are we deleting, or Senator Mann, are we deleting but not limited to? Is that what we talked about?
Yep, that is what we talked about.
So, Mr. Chair, I'll move on line 2.6 to delete the phrase but not limited to.
Including, but not limited to.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, including. Yes.
So, Senator Abeler.
I even like that better.
If you could let's now, on 2.6, you'll want to remove.
Including but not limited to.
Mr. Monahan, what does that do to the bill?
Does that read right?
Reads right to you?
I think you'll need another word.
He's cogitoring that.
Anyway, so Mr. Chair, just to the, so it's Senator Mann's and my intention that this would not include a whole array of not good ideas, things for people to take, but to be limited to those remedies for the treatment of opioid use disorders. And so, and we can, so if maybe just if the testifiers know that that's intended to come out, and Mr. Monahan can wordsmith it.
Yep, he is right now, Senator Abeler. He's just trying to get it. I understand your intent there. I think the other thing to play in line is, the Department of Justice is, there's lots of facts out there regarding what's been happening within the Department of Justice and saying that, sober homes should be or could be, should be. I mean, there's all this could and should stuff. So I guess when you come up with this language, maybe you could help us understand what does that do to your intent of your bill. I do know the authors in the other body don't have to say I almost said it. How? The other body, what does that do to the intent of what, I know the two authors over there who you were working with, so, that's what we have a conference committee report for, so.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Madam.
If we remove the not limited to, we really confine what is allowed to drugs that are FDA approved for the treatment of SUD and mental health.
Okay.
And not anything else. And then I also say that this bill brought out a whole slew of topics that I will mention in my closing comments that we should have more discussions about.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Monahan, you need a couple more seconds? Because I'd be more than happy to give you.
Go to testifiers.
Let's go to testifiers. Let's do that.
Mr.
So let's
Chair, can I ask
yes,
you-
Senator Abeler.
Just let me ask a question. So in our discussions, Senator Mann, is it your intention that this would not include medical marijuana necessarily? So they would not be required to allow medical marijuana to be used?
Senator Mann.
That's correct. So we want treatment that is FDA approved only at this time, and that is the intent of the bill.
Okay,
Senator Abeler
thank you.
clarifies that. FDA approved. That's what it comes down to. Okay. Why don't we go to some testifiers? Senator Abeler, if you're okay, just holding back as soon as we're ready.
Mr. Chair, I'll withdraw my amendment for now.
So be it. Edward Krumpatik, did I say that right? Close enough to perfect for me. That was a song. It was a country song. If you can name what year that was, Senator Rasmussen, I'll buy you a McDonald's shake. So, Edward, just for the sake of the committee, state your full name and let us know what do you like.
Yeah, my name is Edward Krumpetich. I'm the chair of the Minnesota Harm Reduction Collaborative. I'm a native of Grand Rapids, Minnesota, where I currently live, and it's a pleasure to be here today. I'm also a person of lived experience from severe substance use disorder. I walked the streets homeless for 6 years here in the streets of Minneapolis. The state of Minnesota saved my life. Despite being a former history teacher of the year in the state of Maryland, master's graduate, and college athlete, I found myself in the grips of substance use disorder, battling homelessness for 6 long years, and facing the devastating reality of HIV. Substance use disorder doesn't discriminate. It took the life of my brother John from an opiate-related overdose, and almost myself from multiple overdoses and suicide attempts. Minnesota has invested millions of dollars in my care, 40 plus abstinence-based treatments, 25 detoxes, numerous hospitalizations, surgeries, and more than 20 stays in Minnesota sober homes, abstinence-based, and it was not enough. It wasn't until a provider found evidence-based practices for treating both my mental health and substance use disorder that I truly began to heal. I needed a stimulant to treat a stimulant use disorder and my ADHD. Combined with a treatment setting that permitted its use, this would be the last treatment that I attended, and all it cost was $30 a month. Let me share some crucial insight. Untreated ADHD, for example, significantly increases the risk of somebody developing substance use disorder by 5 to 8 times. As a child, my impulsive nature was looked at as fun-seeking, but it was classic ADHD, and my family's decision to not treat almost cost me my life. Treating ADHD with best practices includes first-line treatments like Adderall and Vyvanse, the gold standards. Similarly, medications for opioid use disorder are the lifelines, and evidence suggests these medications are not only best practices, but they far surpass therapy, substance use disorder treatment, abstinence-based programs, and support groups. Now, don't get me wrong. We're not saying don't go to treatment. I still participate. I still read the big book each morning, and I take my medications as prescribed. In fact, all we're asking here is to follow SAMHSA guidelines, which state there should be no barriers to medications in sober homes. SAMHSA. All we're asking is for the Americans with Disabilities Act to be followed. Litigious efforts are possible, and we don't want to see us go down that road. Unfortunately, my journey to recovery faced obstacles
Can you
when
wrap it up, Ed? You're at the 2-minute mark.
I sure can. We don't have enough beds to support the divisions amongst medications. Per the Minnesota Association of Sober Homes, there are 200 sober homes currently in our state. This equals about 2,000 beds. And here's something to put in perspective as I end. There were 12,000 people admitted for opiates in 2021, for 2,000 beds. I wish that my brother had the chance at Medicaid-assisted treatment, and he didn't have to do it alone.
Thank you, Ed. Wendy Jones from, looks like Minnesota Alliance for Recovery Community Organizations. For the record, please state who you are and welcome to the committee.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Pleasure to be here. My name is Wendy Jones. I'm a person in long-term recovery and the executive director of the Minnesota Alliance of Recovery Community Organizations, also known as MARCO. MARCO is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to educate, advocate, and mobilize the grassroots recovery movement across Minnesota. MARCO and recovery community organizations advocate for recovery-oriented system change. We reject the shame, stigma, and discrimination that have historically harmed our communities, and we have a responsibility to be consumer and community advocates across the continuum of care, which is why I am here today. I am testifying in support of SF 3973 for 3 reasons. First, substance use disorder is a chronic disease, and people in recovery want, deserve, and are legally entitled to parity with the care afforded other chronic diseases. A person who has a legally prescribed medication to treat their substance use disorder and is no longer engaging in the illegal use of drugs is protected by the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA. The recovery community fought long and hard for inclusion in the ADA, and it is the recovery community's responsibility to uphold ADA protections for all its members. Second, recovery is not a zero-sum endeavor. RCOs educate that there are multiple pathways of recovery and that protecting one pathway does not take away from another. Abstinence-only, medication-assisted, and all other recovery pathways can and must coexist if we really are serious about addressing the addiction epidemic. Is this easier said than done? Absolutely. But I have faith that a narrative of my pathway of recovery is a threat to your pathway of recovery, or vice versa, will not prevail. I hope instead that we will explore how to adapt recovery environments, such as recovery residences, for all who choose to be there without discrimination or fear. Finally, we're in a time of great change. The science of addiction and recovery has advanced.
You're at the 2:08 mark, so if you could close.
Has advanced exponentially over the past quarter century, has the nature and availability of substances that are killing us. Across the continuum of care, we are taking a hard look at how things have been done in the past and asking ourselves, is this really the way to move forward given the world we live in today? This legislation is an important step to take for Minnesota to catch up with changing the landscape of addiction and recovery. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Dr. Charles Resnikoff. Did I say that right? Addiction Medicine at Hennepin County Medical Center. Welcome to this. Please state who you are and welcome to our committee.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Charles Resnikoff. I'm an addiction medicine and internal medicine doctor at Hennepin County Medical Center. Thank you for being here and considering this. I 6 months ago treated for someone with opioid use disorder. She entered inpatient treatment. She got on methadone therapy. She was doing great. When it was time for her to take the next step, the sober home that she wanted to go to would not allow her in. And that was because she was on methadone. This risked her sobriety, risked her very life. So I'm really happy about the changes that would be made by this legislation. 1,000 Minnesotans died from opioid overdose per year. And in fighting these deaths, there are 2 important interventions: housing and medications. Those are evidence-based and they're critical. These medications, buprenorphine and methadone, lower death by 50% or more. We already heard about the Americans with Disabilities Act, Fair Housing Act. These federal laws make it illegal to exclude people on the basis of their disease or treatment, and this would align with the federal laws. I want to talk about some challenges that I read in the letters. The first is that there might be unscrupulous doctors in the community who inappropriately prescribe medications that are unsafe for the patients. While this is true, we deal with this in our clinic all the time. We don't take it out on the patients. What we do is we have a process for managing unsafe prescriptions in the community. There's a process for that. That doesn't require that we punish or withhold services from the patients. So unsafe prescriptions, we should be able to handle that without withholding services. The second is that some patients are so fragile that they can't be around these medications. I believe that. However, the most important thing we do and the sober homes can do is start working with counseling, supporting those patients so that they're able to be around these medications and build facilities and services that accommodate both those on medications and not on medications.
2-minute mark, doctor.
Okay, so now I will conclude by saying that I know that there will be growth pains with this legislation, and I understand it will force change of some sober homes, but I believe the changes will be good. This aligns sober homes with the best tools we have to fight overdose deaths, and it protects patients' rights. Minnesota will end up healthier because of this legislation. Thank you to Senator Mann for carrying this bill. Speaking for Hennepin Healthcare, we would urge you to vote in support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Resnikoff, and the work that you do in your department through the 1800, I'm amazed at what I'm seeing in Hennepin County. So
Thank you.
I appreciate you being here and your words. Will Lyken, Executive Director, Minnesota Association of Sober Homes. Welcome back to the committee, Will. You want to, for the record, state your name and good to go.
All right. Hello, everybody, and good afternoon, and thank you for your time. My name is William Lyken, and I'm the Executive Director of the Minnesota Association of Sober Homes, also known as MASH, a nonprofit dedicated to certifying, inspecting, training, and supporting sober housing in our state. First off, I'd like to say that MASH supports medications for opioid use disorder and does instruct homes on how to properly supervise such medications. I would also like to bring to the attention of this body that we are still waiting on data from the state on our state's recovery housing capacity. The environmental scan will hopefully answer some of the questions in this room, and having data on MAT usage in sober homes should be a prerequisite to any drastic legislation regarding MAT. It is absolutely critical that we all embrace a yes-and approach to recovery. Every recovery journey is unique and with many variations in structure, faith, program, and medication. We are dedicated to person-centered practices. To use DHS's language, person-centered practices encourage informed choice and creativity. This bill plainly restricts informed choice. A one-size-fits-all approach to recovery will not work. If the state wishes to support medication-assisted sober housing, there are many better alternatives besides mandating another model out of existence. States such as Indiana, New Hampshire, and others have robust offerings for MAT supportive housing through incentives and trainings. I would like to echo an earlier sentiment that there is not enough MAT sober housing in Minnesota. I agree. There is not enough sober housing in Minnesota. We should be focused on large-scale changes to support this crucial industry. We say yes to MAT models, and we say yes to the 12-step abstinence-based Minnesota model. We can and should have both. This way, residents can determine which pathway is best for them instead of those of us sitting in this room. Only then will we be supporting person-centered practices. We urge you to strike the medication mandate from SF 3973. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lyken. That's all I have. Senator Mann, was there any other folks that you had that were talking about this with you? So, members, we're waiting for Mr. Monahan. There was an oral amendment that was being shot out by the senator from Anoka. Looks like Mr. Monahan is printing that off for Senator Mann and Senator Abeler. So, any questions? Mr. Senator Asmussen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question for Mr. Lyken. I'll wait for him to get up if that's okay.
Mr. Lyken, just restate your name again so it's noted.
My name is William Lyken.
So go ahead, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Lyken. My question is, does Senator Abeler's proposed amendment alleviate your concern, or would you like to see further changes in the bill? And it would be helpful if you talked about what changes you'd like to see.
Yes,
Mr. Lyken, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, I'm just trying to grasp this. The proposed amendment would specifically make it so we're only talking about FDA-approved medications. Is this correct? Therefore, eliminating things like
Senator
medical
Rasmussen,
cannabis?
maybe we want to hear from, you want to save that question when we hear, because it looks like now we understand what the language is, and then we could say contextually, Senator Abeler, what does that mean? And then you want to go to that, or do you want to, what are you thinking?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I guess, Mr. Chair, maybe my question is for Senator Abeler. Senator Abeler, could you describe your amendment and how it potentially addresses?
Mr. I could do better than that. I could move
Lyken?
the A1 amendment.
You could move the A1 amendment, Senator Abeler, if you want to explain it.
So,
He's got to print it off. So go ahead.
everybody has one now, right?
No, not everybody has one,
Oh, is
Senator
this still an
Abeler.
oral amendment?
He's going to print them off.
Okay.
So if you want to talk
So
with
Senator
Senator
Mann has one and I
Rasmussen's
have one.
point,
All right.
Senator
So you
Abeler.
like this, right? You're good with this? Okay. I'll describe the amendment.
Thank
So
you.
what it does, it deletes all of line 2.5. And then it deletes everything before pharmacotherapies on line 2.6. So then you have all that pharmacotherapies approved by, et cetera. Anyways, but then it inserts, so this would be the whole, after number 8, it would say, permit residents to use as directed by a licensed prescriber, legally prescribed and dispensed or administered pharmacotherapies approved by the U.S. FDA, et cetera. So it really narrows it down to that medicated assisted therapy business. And I'm still interested in Mr. Lycant. That was, Senator Rasmussen, you particularly stole my question. So that's my amendment, Mr. Chair.
Senator Rasmussen asked the question first, Senator Abeler, so I think we should let him ask that question again, right?
I know, he stole it. I mean, he's got it now, possession
Great.
being 9 parts of
The
the law.
governor poached Kevin Parker from us, and now he poached your thing from you. So Senator Rasmussen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Abeler. I guess my question now for Mr. Lycan is, does this amendment from Senator Abeler address your concerns, or would you still have additional concerns, assuming this amendment is adopted?
Mr. Lycan.
Thank you, Senator Rasmussen, and thank you, Mr. Chair. So while we do appreciate this amendment, and it will do great lengths in regards to resolving confusion and concerns regarding medicinal cannabis, there are some, I would say that we do still harbor some reservations regarding even the FDA-approved medications, how they would be supervised within the homes, risk of diversion. There are still a lot of questions in the air there. However, the amendment as put forth is appreciated.
Senator Rasmussen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and a follow-up question for Mr. Lycan. I mean, Mr. Lycan, is the concern that individuals living within a sober home community would potentially abuse these drugs, or can you just tell the committee a little bit about what your concerns would be if we're only talking about prescription drugs that are coming from a licensed prescriber?
Mr. Lycan.
Thank you, Senator Rasmussen. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So where the concerns specifically lie, I would say, is that first and foremost, there is when an individual early in recovery, they may prefer to be in an environment that is excluding of certain chemicals, regardless of their legality or their medicinal nature to others in the home. We want residents to be able to choose what sort of environment that they reside in. And then to answer the second part of your question, I would say that there is still a concern. Well, yes, of course, with misuse, diversion of medication. Cool. I think MASH would be more comfortable if, and this is on all of us, including MASH, to make sure that individual organizations are, provided lock boxes. That has been seen great success in other states as far as restricting diversion. There are real practices that we can do to promote and incentivize these without mandating an entire model out of existence. So while we appreciate the amendment very much, I think there would still be concerns.
Senator Rasmussen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and a follow-up from Mr. Lycan. So, Mr. Lycan, are you saying that if this proposed bill as amended, or if the amendment as adopted becomes law, you'd be concerned around 12-step programs being able to continue in Minnesota, and that basically this legislation would be effectively making it so you couldn't have 12-step programs? Am I understanding? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I just want to make sure I understand the implication of the bill from your point of view.
Mr. Lycan.
Thank you, Senator Rasmussen. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, when I speak with certain sober home operators, they feel that this would jeopardize their ability to operate on the model which they have been operating for many years.
All right, understandable. Senator, you want to keep going, or Senator Utke was following up? You good? Senator Utke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've got a couple different questions. Don't run away. But my first question would be for Senator Mann. As the bill is written and what we're seeing in front of us now, this would mandate that all sober homes operate the same.
Senator Mann.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Utke, so the issue, and I was going to talk about this a little bit later, but I'll talk about it now, with sober homes in Minnesota is that we are one of 23 states that do not license sober homes. We don't even have a definition of what a sober home is. We don't have a registry for sober homes. So we have no idea how many sober homes are in the state of Minnesota. Because of that, it's very difficult to legislate what happens in a sober home. So while we would say that you need to allow people to have their substance use disorder medications, how that looks is going to be different for every sober home, because that's as far as we have legislation for. You know, we have this idea that we're going to change the current model, but 12 Steps program can still certainly continue. And, you know, at some point in time, we also have to discuss, is the current model actually working with opioid deaths increasing and the amount of use increasing? Is what we're doing appropriate? Or do we need to change the way that we look at treatment in general?
Senator Utke?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I guess, being we're
Mr. Lyken,
starting
you can go
from
back.
the ground up, I'm going to catch
Oh,
you.
you want to ask, you want him to still be, you got a question for him?
Yep,
or you-
I got a question for him.
Okay, all right.
I am concerned about everybody then operating under the same rules, but I will go to Mr. Lyken with this next one is, if this goes into place, if this bill was to go through as it is with the proposed amendment either way, will this force some sober homes to close in the fact that they've got a principle under which they operate today, and all of a sudden this says you have to do certain things? Are they just going to close the doors and say, this, I'm not doing it?
It's Mr. Lyken to Senator Utke's point.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have spoken with some sober home operators who have said that this would impact whether they would be willing to or their ability to operate. I have heard, I think it would result in grudging compliance in some instances, as well as some operators ceasing to operate. Yes.
Senator Utke?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Lyken. And as I look through you and past you, I see a lot of heads shaking like this. So I think we would have challenges ahead, and you've touched on some of that. So I guess I would just like to see, it sounds like this model is presented and effective in a lot of different ways. And anytime we start to paint every provider with the same common paintbrush, things don't seem to work. So I would just be concerned about going 2 steps forward and 2 back, or that sort of thing. And because just the fact that we're forcing them to do some of these things with medications is concerning. So I'll sit and listen to the rest of everybody's questions and see where this goes, but I would have concerns.
Yep. Let me, thank you, Senator Utke. Senator Aaron May Quaid, and I'm going to pull up the statute definition of sober homes. So last year, here we go. No, they're right here. Definition, but this is where we want the requirements. Aha, section 14. So last year in this committee, we worked with the other body, and there was a certain senator from this committee, from Anoka, that sat with the other body, and I believe it was either Representative Newer or Representative Baker. Baker was involved deeply in the whole conversation. I mean, he was our subject matter expert last year when we went into conference committee. But the sober homes requirements must comply. I mean, this is subdivision 1. If you want to look at section 14, chapter 61, article 4, section 13, down to section 14, 254B.181, if y'all want to look. It's a book. Sure, I'd love to, because it's even in a book for the, this is like old school here. 254B.181, chapter 61, article 4, right? There's a section 14. Subdivision 1 says, all sober homes must comply with applicable state laws and regulations and local ordinance related to maximum occupancy, fire station sanitation. In addition, all sober homes must maintain a supply of an opioid antagonist in the home and post information on proper use, have written policies regarding access to all prescribed medications, to your point, have written policies regarding evictions, return all property and medications to the person discharged from the home for a minimum of 60 days. If the person did not collect them upon discharge, the owner must make an effort to contact the person listed and for the discharged person so that the items are returned. Number 5, document the names. This is all new language, Senator Abeler, that your group last year put in to statute, right? Give some clarification to your point. There is no licensing side of it, but there is some clarification about what you should be doing. The other thing that we bring up, right? Title II, I mean, where do you want to start? The system is in flux always, right? Title II of the ADA, right? And that's to keep people bring up, oh, we're going to comply with the ADA. Well, no, nobody complies with the ADA. It's like, it's a reasonable accommodation. What's a reasonable accommodation when you really look at it, right? It's because I want to be able to be inclusive to everybody. To your point, there's multiple pathways to recovery, right, if we truly believe that. And yeah, is the system working? No, our system doesn't work. The same amount of people are successful in recovery as they were 30 years ago. Something's messing. Something's not working, right? And what do we keep seeing is this high increase, to your point, Senator Mann, right? So, Senator Utke, I'm glad we're having this conversation. I'm glad I kept the folks down to 2 minutes because this is really our conversation about what you want to do with this kind of piece of conversation. But here it is. I can pass it on. Senator Mayquay, to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I apologize, Dr. Mann. I was finishing up a meeting about libraries, so I missed the opening part of your statement. But I read your bill, and I just have some questions. So I'm looking at this, the requirements, and I'm seeing that there was a requirement that policies, they have policies requiring abstinence from alcohol and illicit drugs, but not prescribed medication that's legally dispensed. And then if we look at the Bill of Rights, that would be subdivision 2, under your bill. It also requires that people are able to retain personal property that does not jeopardize safety or health. And so you might have mentioned this in your opening statement, but are there people right now who are working on sobriety who cannot access sober homes because of the medications that they're using to manage their sobriety?
Mr. Chair.
Madam President. Senator Mann.
Senator.
Well, I was thinking, you know, what I kept hearing, Melissa Hortman, Madam President, right, Speaker, Madam Speaker, she kept saying sunnier. I was telling the firefighters today that, you know, I heard from, you know, Representative Hortman, she said the forecast is going to be a little sunnier than what people were thinking, right? So I was saying, what does define sunnier? So I said, you know, ask her what sunnier means. So I'm waiting on that because it's 3:30, but go ahead. Senator Mann, sorry.
Senator McQuaid, yes. So we heard from Dr. Resnikoff that he had a patient who was on methadone and was doing extremely well but couldn't find a sober home or was rejected from a certain sober home. So yes, this does occur, not just with methadone, but with Suboxone as well, and also with mental health medications. We heard from another testifier who you have to treat mental health in order to treat substance use disorder. You cannot do one without the other. And people have been denied their mental health disorder medications as well.
Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'm having a cyber conversation about.
Yeah, it's loud.
Because can you hear it?
Yeah.
Because this is what we do, right? Here is an issue that's been laying out there, right? So then the question comes up, again, Senator Abeler is bringing up the ADA, different pathways. I think what we end up doing with this is lay this bill over, get the folks working together on it, get some questions answered, right? We got time between now and by the time we go to conference committee. It's like last year, we had the sober bill language, and it was within, you know, we took the whole time to work this out and really get some educated people looking at it together. So I love these conversations, by the way. So go ahead, Senator, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Senator Mann, I just really appreciate you bringing this forward because before I was born, my mom actually used to work in a methadone clinic and talked a lot about how their sobriety was dependent upon access to medication. And I just struggle to understand how we can have sober homes functioning without the things that people need to maintain sobriety. And we know that a lot of substance use disorder is kind of related to these like experiences of despair. And that is a whole other topic for this legislature to undertake. But while we do that, the things that are helping people get and stay sober, I think are really important for them to have access to and not be cut off from environments that support their sobriety while they're taking legally prescribed medications. So thank you, Dr. Mann.
That's the various pathways to recovery, right? I mean, that's what Senator Aaron McQuaid is talking about, Senator Mann. So, Senator Mann, to that point, any final words, folks?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. So again, this bill just opened up a whole can of worms for me. It really did. I had a really good conversation with people who opposed the bill. and I understand where they're coming from. And I think we have to have a deeper conversation about sober homes in general. Like, for example, you know, when we talk about choice, that sounds fantastic. But if I am coming in with Suboxone and I want to stay in the cities, am I going to find a place that's going to accept my Suboxone? Or is there going to be 12 abstinent-only places without that one that meets my needs? Are there going to be both types in a certain geographical area? And so, you know, and are we treating, is everyone treating older models and new models of substance use disorder, treating substance use like a chronic disease that it is, which requires constant treatment and reevaluation, and people will use again, just like any chronic disease? Are people getting kicked out of sober homes when they use one time? These are questions that we don't have answers to today, and we need to find these answers. And so I would like to partner with really everyone here to dive deeper into this, to get these answers so that we can legislate appropriately and get the people the help that they need.
Thank you for volunteering. I'm going to keep that. It's for the record, Senator Mann. Thank you for caring about this, because it is a huge issue. We need to, Senator Abeler renews the A1 amendment, correct? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That is passed. Now the bill is sitting before us. We've had discussion. I think the plan is to lay this over for possible inclusion in a policy bill, unless you want to go to the floor with it.
No.
Senator Rasmussen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Mann, for, I think, this conversation. And you're right that, you know, this sober home kind of world, there are a lot of questions around what's going on and where these locations are at and the capacity, and I think there are some good questions to be asked there. The one thing I'd ask you consider as you continue to work on this bill, and thank you for working with stakeholders on this, is especially some of the smaller sober homes in greater Minnesota oftentimes are completely volunteer-based, oftentimes are affiliated with a community of faith in the community, and they are kind of just being able to provide their services today are really struggling with both the financial model and just being able to have the services there. And so as you continue this work, we just encourage you to talk to some of those providers in greater Minnesota who, I just worry whenever we put different requirements on them, is that going to be the difference maker in terms of their ability to continue providing those much needed resources in the community. But thank you for taking a thoughtful approach to this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Rasmussen. And I think this committee actually funded a couple of those programs he's talking about last year, if I remember right. Senator Abeler.
Well, thanks. Just really briefly, I appreciate partnering with Senator Mann on this and other members of the committee and the community, and I really appreciate the tone this hearing is going in, and thank you.
With that, the bill will be laid over for possible inclusion, and thank you, Senator Mann, for all your work. Senator Utke. And look at, if David is watching us from Zoom land, so David, it's 3:40. I'm looking at your notes here. 3:40, it says start, 3:40. Look at that. You and Sarah are like right on time, Senator Utke. Members, Senate File 3733 is a foster care licensing moratorium modification. Senator Utke, you're here with Sarah Grafsman from the state and federal. Look at this, you're just from ARM. Nice to see you, by the way. So, Senator Utke, welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And we've got Senate File 3733 before us, and I think, Mr. Chair, I would like to offer the A1 amendment.
Oh, 3733 or 34?
Oh, did I say 3733 is our
You
first
do
one.
have, you know what you do, you have an A1. It's not in my notes, but you do have an A1 amendment. So Senator Utke.
I think you're looking at the 3734 possibly, because the notes wouldn't have included.
Nope, I messed up. I was looking at my notes, it said 34, and that's because they're so close to another, but I have the 33 in front of me.
You've got privileged notes, Mr. Chair.
You're funny. You used to have those privileged notes. I love that. 33A1 amendment is what you have in front of you, right, Senator Utke?
That is correct.
That's what I'm looking at. Members, you got it passing out. You want to talk about it, or you just want to move it so it puts this in the form you like?
You know, Mr. Chair, it is an author's amendment, but it is a delete everything. So if you would like, I would ask Ms. Grafston to just go over what we had here, because we've had a lot of discussions today, and with input from staff, this is what we've ended up with. So if we could call on her, we'll
Absolutely.
give you a quick overview before we have everybody vote.
Members okay with that? Ms. Grassman, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do you want me to start talking about the,
You know, what we're going to end up, we're going to have to move on the A1. So, I mean, what Senator Utke just said basically is in discussions with other people, who did you have discussions with, just for this sake? And there's kind of like global agreement to this language that's in front of us?
yeah, we had discussions with Mr. Monahan on the best way to make the bill work.
All right. So this was just some technical fixes, Mr. Monahan? Am I asking you to say something or not?
Well, we asked him for advice, but we also gave him a request to us to tighten this up and make it work. So we don't want to just say we can't blame him for everything we did, but he did what we asked.
I love it. Members, the Senator Utke, A1 amendments in front of us. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Senator Utke, to your bill now that is in the form, you love it.
Okay, and to cut right to the bill, Mr. Chair, I would call on our testifier to tell us all about it.
Sarah Grafstrom, do you want to tell us
we're
who
trying
you
to
are?
accomplish?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Sarah Grafstrom. I'm the Senior Director of State and Federal Policy at ARM. ARM is a statewide trade association of residential service providers providing services through the 4 disability waivers and supporting people in a variety of different living environments, from a 4-person community residential setting to an individual's own home, as well as individuals receiving service in an ICF. The bill in front of you addresses a unique and uncommon licensing and payment structure for a small group of homes. So typically, if you are someone that receives services through one of the 4 disability waivers, you would live in a community residential setting, receiving community residential services, more commonly known as a group home, whose permanent license capacity is capped at 4, or you may choose to live in your own home or a family home. For individuals who do not have a disability waiver, they may live in what is called an intermediate care facility or an ICF. Individuals that live in these homes have payment reimbursement rates that are based on the ICF they live in, and these settings can range in size from small 4-person homes all the way up to larger facilities. ICFs are classified as a supervised living facility or an SLF and are dually, that's a hard one, dually licensed with the Department of Human Services regulating the habilitative and rehabilitative and social service programs that are provided, and the Department of Health, who oversees the physical plant of that ICF. The unique situation that this bill is addressing and proposes to make changes to our homes that are classified as an SLF with a maximum license capacity of 6, but are not ICFs and are instead supporting individuals that are on one of the 4 disability waivers and paid through the disability waiver rate system, and providing community residential services. Across the state, the population of homes we're talking about is 14 homes total that would fit into this particular category that this bill is addressing. The proposal in front of you would allow for a time-limited exception to have these homes permanently convert from an SLF to a CRS while maintaining their current capacity. By allowing for this conversion, the individuals that live in these homes will have access to assistive tech or remote support, both which are not allowed by living in an SLF, and would provide the provider to only have to work with the Department of Human Services for licensing versus have to have the dual license with both the Department of Human Services and the Department of Health. With that, Mr. Chair, I'll just say in this bill, we are not proposing a change in capacity to any existing home. Instead, we are simply proposing a change in the license type to open up options for the individuals living in these homes and eliminate some administrative burdens for the providers. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Members? Questions? Senator Rasmussen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question for Ms. Grafstrom. Is there a reason that this is time limited, that we're going to basically blink the moratorium off and then blink it on again versus just eliminating it entirely?
It's Ms. Grafstrom.
Mr. Chair and Senator Rasmussen, the time limited piece came from discussions with the department wanting to see it just for a small window of time. So homes that are currently licensed as an SLF and want to take advantage of being able to convert to a CRS could, but this wouldn't be something that could happen indefinitely. I think the other thing that we want to keep in mind is there are larger SLFs than just the 6-person SLFs that we're talking about. And so wanting to kind of know the universe we're talking about when we talk about this conversion, and maybe not having it open indefinitely for larger SLFs to potentially decrease their capacity and then convert at a different time.
Senator Rasmussen? Good?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate the answer to that. And this is not specific to this moratorium, but I think broadly when we have these moratoria that are out there, if these services are good services, having a moratoria is a really blunt way of trying to sometimes manage costs or manage the supply of those services. And so just would encourage this committee, especially as we kind of deal with different moratoria that come up, to think, is there maybe a better way to try to evaluate if there's a need and if we should allow additional licenses, additional beds, versus just having nope, you can't have any more of this type of service in a community.
I love that, especially as you're talking about the capacity stuff. And the same thing comes to mind, I know, in our conversation with the HUD, I mean, there's some moratorium, there's some discussions on just licensing itself, right? And I'm just, for the life of me, I'm just losing my mindset because it was just happening this afternoon, having that conversation where there's actually the HUD issue, right? Where's the regulations on those HUD homes? Where's the regulation on some other ones? And I know, in this case, I know Josh Berg would love to get part of this conversation because he has some of those homes that would fall in, rather than getting an exemption issue, would be able to get them into 245D and the SES. So it's, yeah, I think the system conversation's there. It's just like honing in on getting what's right there. So I'm glad you brought that up. So maybe, Sarah, you and Josh Berg can go figure out how to fix that exemption issue that
Mr. Chair,
we have.
Josh has already come up to me about it.
You were on that, Senator Utke? Anybody else? And I know their technical assistants, these are all going to be coming in. I suppose you were already talking with Christy Grom and folks at the Department of Human Services and figuring out how to play it right.
Mr. Chair, Ms. Grom did provide some feedback this morning. That's kind of what this amendment tried to address, but we haven't had a chance to actually talk about, does this amendment get to all of their concerns? So we will make sure to do that.
Imagine that. That's awesome to hear. So thank you. Senator Utke, final words. What do you want to do with this? You want to just, you want to lay this over to possible inclusion into an omnibus bill, or what are your thoughts?
Mr. Chair, I would, that works. I guess I've understood all along. I thought that was the plan. I'm going to put some of these together, but whatever you'd like to see.
I'm falling. Last somebody asked me who should carry a bill in this committee, and I said I don't care. It's all human services. We're all driving toward the same thing. Senator Mitchell, what do you think?
Why don't we take a look at this? We've got another one following. We're going to have a few more. We can decide what kind of a package is best, because we're trying to do a lot of things that are going to make this part of our world better.
Okay.
And maybe there's things that naturally go together.
So, sounds good. So we'll just lay this for possible inclusion right now, and we'll keep having the conversation. All right, so thank you. Members, we're going to go to Senate File 3734. And this one, I have a note that says you have an A1 amendment. Is that correct, Senator Utke?
Mr. Chair, I most certainly do. And I would first like to offer the A1, but I'm going to follow that up with an A2 once we get done with the A1.
Jeez.
And Mr. Chair, on the A2, if you would like me to touch on that just briefly.
I don't know if everybody's got the A2. I got the A1 I'm looking at, but I don't have your A2. Let's do the A1 first, Senator Utke. All those, Senator Utke moves the A1 amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, Senator Utke, the A1 is passed. Now to the A2.
And Mr. Chair, the A2 is basically a continuation of the author's amendment. It just better defines that description on page 2, line 11.
Members, the A2 is being handed out to each and every one of you. Any questions for the good senator? All those in favor of the A2 amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Senator Utke, now the bill is in the form and what you want it to be, so talk to
Okay.
us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and members. As you see, in the A1, we took in, the original intent of the language was meant to clean up what was being proposed relating to the training requirement. Because this language already existed in another part of statute under the positive support rule, so this was duplicative. But after this was presented, advocates from various communities have felt that we shouldn't remove it from this from this bill and this section of statute, because if the other, the positive support rule ever went away, then it would all be gone. So we first, with the A1, struck that removal.
Okay.
And we'll leave it in. It's going to show up twice in statute, but in the end, there was more comfort with that. So that was the reason for the A1. And Mr. Chair, this bill, like the previous one, was brought to us from ARM. This bill proposes modifications to Minnesota Statute 245D, the regulatory statute that licensed service providers follow. These changes include both technical and cleanup changes, as well as changes that make modifications that would support further workforce growth and development. And again, Mr. Chair, I would like to call on our testifier, Ms. Grafston, to further tell us about this bill.
Thank you, Senator Utke, and Ms. Grafstrom, that I did, hearing Senator Utke talk, because there was a concern about positive supports rule, but you've cleaned that language up, so we should be good on that, because it's nice to have a positive supports rule. Nice work. So, Ms. Grafston, for the committee,
Thank you,
tell us what's up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. So again, my name is Sarah Grafstrom. I'm the Senior Director of State and Federal Policy at ARM. I'll skip the part of my testimony that talks about who ARM is and just jump right into the bill. So the bill in front of you proposes changes to Minnesota Statute 245D, which Senator Utke outlined, the regulatory statute for disability waiver service providers. And the bill reflects both technical changes as well as proposals to grow and develop our workforce. So I'll walk through the bill section by section, and I'm happy to stand for questions at the end. So beginning with sections 1 and 2, we are proposing technical changes to the language surrounding what is commonly called a 45-day meeting. Historically, this meeting, which involves service planning and goal setting, needed to happen within 45 calendar days of starting services. This timeline was a challenge for individuals who utilize unit-based services or services that were provided more sporadically. The 45-day timeline felt rushed to begin goal setting with their service provider. So in 2021, we actually worked with the legislature to change the timeline, which now allows the meeting to happen within 45 days of service or 60 calendar days, whichever is shorter. However, in doing so, we left some references within 245D to the quote-unquote 45-day meeting. So again, sections 1 and 2 look to update those references to reflect the new timeline that is already in place. Section 3 of the bill proposes changes to the qualifications for the designated coordinator position. The designated coordinator provides supervision, support, and evaluation of activities for individuals receiving services. They oversee the direct support team for certain programs and ensure the program is running in an efficient and in an effective manner and meets the needs of the person. The designated coordinator also works directly with the person's support team and case manager. Currently, there are 4 different ways, beginning on line 5.6 of the bill, that you can qualify to become a designated coordinator. The first 3 all require some form of diploma or degree in a field related to human services and corresponding experience. The 4th way is through years of work experience and corresponding training and education hours. Our proposal removes the requirement that the degree or diploma needed to qualify in the first 3 scenarios be in the field related to human services. This requirement drastically limits the pool of qualified staff, resulting in providers hiring someone because they meet the narrow criteria in statute rather than hiring the best person for that position. We are also proposing to remove a component of the 4th qualifier, changing the 4 years of full-time work experience providing direct care services to a person with a disability to 4 years' experience providing direct care services to a person with a disability, knowing that there are many parents or caregivers that have many more than 4 years' experience providing direct care, just not necessarily in a full-time work capacity. Section 4 of the bill proposes a change to the qualification requirements for the designated manager. The designated manager is responsible for ensuring compliance with state rules and regulations, as well as looking over the company overall. The designated manager is looking at trends, patterns, compliance, and quality improvement, and making sure corrective action is taken for any identified violation. The designated manager must meet all the qualifications listed in Section 3 of the bill for the designated coordinator, and must also have a minimum of 3 years of supervisory level experience in a program providing direct support services to a person with a disability. Our language, beginning on line 6.16, proposes to remove the qualifier that the 3 years of supervisor experience be in a program providing direct support services, instead opening up the position to qualified staff who have gained their supervisory experience in a different profession, but again still meet all of the requirements that the designated coordinator must meet. And finally, Section 5 of the bill proposes a change to a current restriction in place for staff that are 16 and 17 years old. Line 7.10 through 7.11 removes language that restricts these staff from administering medication. A little background on this: all providers are required to have a medication administration policy and procedure developed in consultation with a nurse or doctor and trained on and competency proven by all staff before they can administer medication. There is also the ability right now for providers to request a variance to allow from the Department of Human Services to the rule that restricts 16 and 17-year-olds passing meds. Looking at data provided by the Department of Human Services since January 2022, there have been 20 requests for this variance, allowing for 16 and 17-year-olds to administer medications, and all have been granted. Given the success of the variance option, we propose to remove the restriction altogether. And then, as Senator Utke shared, the changes made in Section 6 of the bill were reinstated through the author's amendment. So, Mr. Chair, with that, I am happy to answer any questions.
Members, any questions for our wonderful presenters? Anybody want to drill Senator Utke? Is there a cost to this, Senator Utke? Let me be you for a second. Is there a
Mr. Chair,
fiscal note to this?
there are no costs.
I just, want to be him on this one. This is awesome. I mean, you're finding that piece. I think, again, I would assume that you're getting some technical assistance on how that looks from, why am I picking on Christy Brown? Because I can.
She's probably right over my shoulder.
On the essence. What is the essence of this bill, Christy Brown? Is it, yeah, she's shaking her head. So that's good. Thank you, Senator Utke, for bringing, this is what we're about. Let's get to the why, what we're doing. And it's so, Lucette, is that her name? Is that your daughter's name? I love that. I mean, I'm sitting here, and of course, just have so much fun. Senator Omar Fateh's got a question.
Ms. Grafstrom, because I was just talking to Senator Abeler about this, what are some of the common medications like a 16 or 17-year-old would administer to a client?
Ms. Grafstrom.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if possible, I do have one of our providers on the line, Ms. Shannon Bach.
Shannon Bach
and
is
she might
there.
be if she's hopefully still there, might be better suited to answer that specific question. That's a little out of my depth.
Shannon, welcome to the committee. Do you want to answer? Did you hear Senator Omar Fateh's question, or do you want him to repeat it?
I did hear it, Senator Hoffman. Thank you so much for having me today. The medications are varied. They could be anything from a as-needed Tylenol medication to an antibiotic. There are psychotropic medications that our team members pass. But again, in order to pass all of those medications, every single employee goes through a medication course, has the same training, and we have very, I would say, rigid protocols in place when it comes to passing medications as far as that check-in system for the drug that's being passed. So whether it's Tylenol or a psychotropic med, it's treated at the same importance level.
Senator Fateh. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bach. And it's Shannon Bach, Executive Director, CCRI. I should have asked you to say who you were at the very beginning, but that's good. So I appreciate you being here from Zoomland. Senator Utke, we're going to do the same thing here. I mean, this is great policy work, and, you know, we got some time to get it. So you want to lay this one over for possible inclusion as well?
Mr. Chair, thank you. Yes, and I think plan of attack that we should probably do offline, but we should look at our package and also then communicate with the other body and see at what level we can bring this together so we pass something that actually makes it through to the finish line. Because as I sit and look at a lot of these things in the past, we pass them, but then they become little orphans sitting off to the side, and that's where they go to collect dust and never be seen again. So we want these to have success and make it to the end. So we'll continue to work on that as a group, and let's figure out how we can make this become reality.
I love that. And you have Ms. Grafstrom, you're the chief author over in the House. You getting the same? Did you get a hearing over there as well?
Mr. Chair, this bill is up for a hearing next Monday.
Oh, awesome. And you're talking to the committee administrator would be Nick? Is that who you're talking to? Yeah. So Senator Utke, thank you for that reminder. And we'll make sure Nick can, David is listening. We can have that conversation to make sure they all line up. I appreciate that, Senator Utke. So members, this one gets laid over Senate File 3734 for possible inclusion in the omnibus bill. Thank you. Senator Abeler, Senate File 3634.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Abeler, welcome to the committee. You got a state-only funding permission of personal care assistance services provided by parents or spouses, correct?
Thank you. And, you know, I was in college. There was a song I liked, Dream On. Anyway, Mr. Chair and members and to the public, I am so sorry that this happened. As of November, parents are no longer paid to be the PCA for their child, and this has caused no end of trouble. And I asked Mr. Monahan, well, what can you conjure up that could maybe at least, with proper imagination, work? And so this is a state-only program which, if implemented, would help restore this lost service. It's when CFSS gets going, will be good. I wish I would have thought of this bill 2 years ago, just in case. It's like the PCA driving and some of that stuff that we are just waiting to happen. And I don't fault anybody, Mr. Chair. There's no criticism here, just sadness for the families who have tried to struggle through without the benefit of that income to help them serve their families. I have two testifiers, Mr. Chair, and so.
I love it, Senator Abel. You want to bring up your test? Looks like Tyler Dolan is, I think he's on. There he is. So, Tyler, since I did not appropriately say your last name correctly, could you, for the record, state your name and welcome to the committee.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this is Tyler Darlene, so very close, but thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I was actually my wife Megan was on the line as well, and Senator Abeler had reached out and his team had reached out to us to see if we wanted to provide a statement. I'm more than happy to do that today.
Go ahead, Mr. Tyler. Darlene?
Darlene, yes, thank you.
All right.
Yes, yeah, so my wife Megan has, over the past year or so, has been providing PCA services for our son Calvin. He has an autism diagnosis since he's 2, he's now 6, and that was kind of how we have been exploring this and getting into the kind of stuff that we've been doing, and this program specifically was very helpful. In the past, we have struggled to find appropriate care that accommodate Calvin's needs. It's expensive. It's hard to find. It's hard to find competent people to do that. Now, there's a wealth of people out there that can do it. I know that there's a lot of professionals that provide these services, but in our case, we always just felt that it was best for the parent to be involved and to be able to do that. With this program, we were able to care for Calvin and provide him this love and attention and services that really only a family can provide. It'd be really helpful for us if this was to be able to continue, not just for our son Calvin, but for everybody in this situation. As Senator said, this is a huge thing that was a huge help for everybody. And it was a huge bummer that it kind of went away. But we look forward to hopefully hearing its return and having these services restored for us.
Thank you. Senator Abeler, this was we're waiting on the CFSS authorization, and this is where that gap has come from, correct? As of November 2023, CMS said no, but we're waiting to get approved under CFSS, and then it'll be yes, is that correct?
I believe that's the case, and I don't remember the exact time frame. I know that we're within, at some point, 3 months happened for something to be approved, and then it's going to happen. And so if you want, Ms. Grom could come down and tell us when. There's another person in person here, I think, Mr. Chair.
I love it, because Lucette, it looks like Marley Vavra is coming down, right? You come in with come on, bring your daughter. Yes. This is why. Last year we talked about the why this committee exists, right there. Hi, Lucette.
Hi, thank you for having us, and thank you for all of you for serving.
Can we get the microphone?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, I just want to thank you all for serving. I know that it takes time away from your families also to be here, and this is Lucette. She is 6.5 years old, and Tyler, thank you for all that you said. I think he spoke well to another parent's perspective, but everything that we've had to walk through, we've learned so much just from other parents that have been in our circumstances that are just a couple years ahead of us. And we actually heard about parent PCAing from a dad in Target. And his daughter had Rett syndrome, and he told us about PCA services that a parent could provide back in 2021. And we were just surprised that we had never heard of anything about that. And so we looked into it, and it was just a wonderful option for myself. And I agree with what Tyler had mentioned as well, is that I'm sure many of you are parents and mothers, and you know the best care that you can provide for your child, especially when they have a disability, and there's just so many dynamics to that. And honestly, it was supposed to end, I think, in like April or May, and then it was extended to November, which we were really grateful for. But in today's economy, it's become kind of a burden, and it gave us a level of financial stability so that I could be at home with our daughter. And although she's transitioning to elementary school next year, it just doesn't even consider the times that you're up at 2 a.m. because of a disability or different things like that a PCA is not going to be, you can't just call and ask somebody to show up. You're the parent that shows up. And so it's so funny that you messaged, or Christina, your assistant, messaged me, because I was journaling Thursday afternoon just for different ways that I could still provide financially to bring in an income for our family and help Lucette in the same way. And then I got your email that afternoon. And so call it God, call it fate, whatever. But just praying for an opportunity that we could get this reinstated. And so that parents, and I think of spouses, you marry the love of your life, and then they get a disability, and then you can't provide care for them, and you know them best too. So I can only speak of the parents' perspective. But this is Lucette. So,
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I guess the when will we know question that pops, we won't know, right? I mean, it's something maybe our biggest advocate from the department is in this room, who could probably, she doesn't even know when that is, because it's on CMS, right, Christy? It's so, this is why we do what we do, man. I just, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Lucette.
Hey.
How are you?
She's more
Welcome.
interested in music.
I love it.
If you sang to her, she might be excited.
I'm a drummer, man.
there you
I'll sure. I can, it's like, what's it? And I'm hoping. We've been hoping for tomorrow. It's Christy Grom's birthday tomorrow. Maybe CMS will be happy and send us all a birthday present for Christy Grom and say, let's get this CFSS taken care of. Because then it is what it is, so.
Yeah, and, you know, I know that there's other things out there, different waiver supports that could do similar options, but
Yeah.
the amount of PCA hours that she was qualified for, just under the PCA choice, that ended in November, it's like a third or like a quarter of the amount of hours that are available, at least in our example, for under a waiver. So it's not even comparable. So, which is kind of a bummer. A lot of her hours got cut just because of that. So.
Senators?
Yep.
Senator Mayquade.
I want to thank you for coming and bringing your daughter. What kind of music does she like?
What kind of music?
Yeah.
She's kind of like an old school, as if she's like African American. She loves gospel music.
Yeah.
She likes hip-hop?
Hip-hop,
Yeah.
rap, you would be surprised. Good rap.
I
but,
love
you know,
it.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
We share musical tastes.
Awesome.
SWV is probably right in that zone.
Okay.
You know, I have a 22-month-old daughter, and so I was just thinking about how hard it is and how hard it was even in her early years. She's had a lot of health issues, and even just for her to go to a grandparent who lives a quarter mile away, she sees 4 times a week, you're still her person. You're her parents. And so even, you know, outside PCA help, like kids don't really want outside people, especially in their younger years.
Yeah.
And so I just want to really honor what you said and lift that up, because you do all that work, but it's, you know, only work that she would probably let you two do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you.
Congratulations.
No, she's hilarious.
Any doctors or lawyers down there? Everybody's smiling here. It's just like, thank you for bringing your daughter. Just smile. Let's get this done. I mean,
Let me know who else to contact, because I bug Hennepin
Centers for
County all
Medicaid
the time.
Services, actually. You want to add, you got a telephone number? Can we just open up a phone call to the Centers for Medicaid Services there? Christy Grom, and add them to this, yeah. No, we did that. Parents, I'll never forget years ago, there was the parents, all the parents pacers, like, you know, everywhere, there's 50 states that have, you know, parent training information centers. Years ago, this dates me, we actually shut down the switchboard at the White House because of the phone calls that went in about a reauthorization piece. So it's like, sometimes it does it. Senator.
Mr. Chair, one of the things I often say to anybody in my community is the most important work I do is in this committee, and I wish that the media was here every day, because they would have a lot of really good things to share out about what Minnesotans need help with. And I wonder if we could clip today's hearing and maybe push it out and get some public pressure on CMS to give us an answer.
Oh my God. Can you do that? I mean, I'd clip. You guys, that's you and that's like.
Me personally, no.
No, the generation, I clip, I can't even figure out how to, I still have a dial TV that switch, you know, so I'm kidding. Yeah, rotary phone kind of stuff. I am old. You're too old for that. I just thank you. You just made my day. I could sit here and just like have this conversation all day, but this committee, it's all about what we do and why we do it. And so
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate that. Senator Abeler, there's how much can we leverage to go? What do we need to do here? What do you want? You want to lay this over and try to work on this? What?
That would be, it's best option. Maybe Ms. Grom can just come give us the timeline of what they expect. If we did this bill, what's the timeline and what's going to cost? And it's not calculated at this point.
I don't know. Do you have that
She could tell us
answer?
the CMS schedule, at least.
Maybe. Do we have an idea of what it would cost? I guess no.
Mr. Chair, maybe but the schedule for the status quo. I think there's a time, and then it's going to roll in over a year. I think if that's right.
Oh, from the CMS viewpoint, what
Yeah,
it means.
What's
if
current law going to be, just so people can know, and where I'm kind of getting at, Mr. Chair, that, you know, I remember her saying that, so I'll let just her.
I get it. You want clarification? So if all of a sudden CFSS says to Department of Human Services, or no, CMS says to the Department of Human Services, yes, what's the implementation of that? So that's really what we need to do, is try to find that gap fixed. Does that make sense? Hello, Ms. Grom.
Hello, Mr. Chair, members. My name is Christy Grom. I'm with the Department of Human Services. And yeah, so once we get approval from CMS, We will need at least 90 days to get our systems ready to implement CFSS. And then after that, people will get approved. They'll transition to the new services once they get their new service plan. So over the course of about a year.
Does that answer that, Senator Abeler?
And yeah, that's what which is a year and 3 months if it's approved today.
Okay.
And it's not being approved today, it's coming in the mail.
Mr. Chair, Senator Abeler, we anticipate approval in the next couple of days because the 90-day clock with CMS is up. And we have not had any questions. We have no indication they're not going to approve this, and we've spent 14 months and weekly phone calls with them, making sure that they will approve this, so.
Wow.
Can I ask
Senator
a
Utke.
question?
Wow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This program was in place, right, prior to this past November. So why does it take 90 days to stand it back up?
You want to explain what happened there to Senator? So yeah, that would be great. Thank you, Ms.
Sure,
Crom.
Mr. Chair, Senator Utke. So yes, this particular flexibility was allowed over the public health emergency. So we had some flexibilities with the federal government to be able to do this. And the 90 days that, or at least 90 days to get our systems ready is broader than just this requirement for parents and spouses to be reimbursed. It's CFSS in total. So there's a variety of different services under CFSS. There's a new service called consultation services. There's ability for people to buy and purchase their own services and goods under CFSS. It's a different model than the current PCA program. And so there was a few things as a part of the systems work that we weren't able to complete prior to or during our submission to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. So there were things, different programming and a lot of testing that we need to do, including some end user testing with counties to make sure that once this goes live, that everyone's comfortable using it and that it works. So I hope that answers your question.
Senator Utke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, because basically the reimbursement would all be the same. It's just that we're standing it up through a new system and all of that. So, okay, that makes sense now. Thank you.
Senator Makewaid.
Mr. Chair, I think Marley had a question.
Oh, I was just going to ask if you would back pay to November.
Is that a question to Senator Abeler or to Christy Grom? Is that
It's
your
the wish of a really good mom.
I love it. So that helps. Does that help you, Senator Abeler, regarding?
Yeah,
if there's
Mr. Chair, and the thing that I heard, which everybody heard, is that, so people may not realize that we make a change, and then every month, 1/12 of the people in a program get their cycle updated.
Yep.
And so I just was, I'm going to play the card, Mr. Chair. What if Lucette is in the last cycle? So that means 15 months from now, finally they'll get back on the program. The first one will get in the program in 91 days. Or,
correct.
3 months or so. And I don't know if there's any magic that can be on some of these particular things, if we have to wait till their cycle comes up on their amendment to something. But if there's some way that we could conjure some of these really critical services, there's some that are really dandy services that, when they get going, it's going to be nice. But for this, this really deprives some families of the care they need.
Yep.
So, just a thought, Mr. Chair.
No, I love it. Senator Utke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As long as we're talking about all these things, how many people are affected with this? I mean, that lost this reimbursement last November. Any idea?
Senator Abeler, Christy Grom.
Mr. Chair, Senator Utke, unless you know. There are about 60,000 people, I believe, about 37,000 people on the PCA program. I think I'm getting that right. Sorry if my numbers are wrong. We don't know, we don't have a way to differentiate in the system of when parents are being paid. So we're not really sure how many, that's part of, there's some systems issues around this. We're not really sure the exact count. I think we made some assumptions when the legislature allowed us to authorize this for the public health emergency, so we can look back at those fiscal assumptions and get back to you. But we do know that this, like people have testified, this is a really important option for families. This is one of the big reasons why we wanted to move toward CFSS a long time ago.
Senator Utke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just a kind of a final comment would be, it would be interesting if you could share those numbers when you get them, because there's a fiscal note being put together, at some point somebody's going to have to declare that number, and it would just be interesting to have that follow-up, and that'll further define what that number in that fiscal note stands for.
I like Senator Utke. Just, I don't even have to ask that question. That's always Utke's thing. There's a fiscal note. Ding, ding, ding. But you know what, though? I mean, what scares me is, last year, the biggest gripe from this committee was the fact that there was $1.825 billion that was left on the table. That includes the federal share of 700 and some odd, 667 million or whatever, right? That was in the general fund, that was rolled into the general fund of underspent money, right? And I sit here and I look at this and I go, man, if we could have some kind of say in that, we could close this gap, especially on the fact that, if it's the 15-month, yeah, it gets done, and it rotates out, then you're looking at the.
Mr. Chair, is that a question or like?
Not a question, that's go find, what options would be, because it's like, there's a funding piece here, and I guess, we will get to that, so I appreciate your work on this. So, senators, anybody? Thank you, I love it. We'll lay this over for possible inclusion in the omnibus bill. Thank you, nice to meet you, Lucette. Thank you for bringing her. Members, Wednesday, we're going to be another full piece Wednesday. We're going to be here at 3 o'clock. If you guys are going to be here or not here, I know because tomorrow everybody's heading back home. But, let me know or let David know. David's going to be in Zoom land. And today is Kevin Parker's birthday, too. So Christie's is tomorrow and Kevin's was today. So happy birthday, Kevin Parker. So, remember he got poached by the governor and he's still not saying anything. I tried to get him to say some stuff today, but he would not. He's locked up. He's like a lockbox. So thank you, everybody. Any statements, comments? We're good. We're adjourned. Have a great day.